Hi everyone, we're really pleased and looking forward to speaking to Chris today. So Chris is a patient with us and he's going to talk to us about his diagnosis and how he's remained positive throughout his treatment and going forward. So I'll leave it to you, Chris. Take it away.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ellie. I've seen a lot of the videos on this channel and I think they're all incredibly helpful. What I've had during my cancer journey, which is now a year old, is you're dealing with this with such positivity and so you're so resilient to this and so on. So I really wanted to talk a bit about my journey and how I've built myself into a resilient individual throughout my life, because and this probably isn't over the breakfast table conversation, but your big red bus is going to hit you at some point. And there's a real trick, I think, to being ready for it. So that you can cope with it positively and in a really engaged way, that you come out of it a better person. So I started on the 10th of November last year by going to the opticians. She said, we're not going to do your eye test because you've got massive pressure in your neuro system. You need to go to A&E. So I did. And immediately I got an MRI scan. They said, you've got a tumour in your head and we're going to get it out on Tuesday. I spent less than a week in the hospital and I'd had wide awake brain surgery to remove a hand-sized tumour from the front left of my head. You might be able to see the cool scar I've got on it there. And then I was out into recovery and preparing for radiotherapy, and I had 2 months of radiotherapy and chemotherapy combined up to February time. And then I started chemotherapy in February this year, and it'll finish in February next year, which is great. So it was a really fast journey, and it's been quite a long journey, but and it's been full of surprises and madness. But the question, how have I approached this in such a resilient way, is really easy to answer. I was kind of ready for it. Not ready for a grade 4 glioblastoma or anything dangerous in any way, but through my life I have built up such a resilient network of people, processes, habits, and things like that, that I was kind of ready to be hit by a big red bus. And that's what this was. I spent 10 years in the army before I moved into London to take on a job in the city. And that built up a huge resilience to high pressure situations and the coping mechanisms. So I called it patrol mode, where I needed to know exactly where everything was. When you go out on patrol, you want to know exactly where your ammunition is, where your first aid kit is, where your mine sweeping kit is, or where your mine marking kit is. You want to have actions on anything that goes wrong. How do you go about that? And I had all of this stuff, and you can probably see it behind me in a blue folder on my table, that I kept that blue folder, and I've kept it full of all of my medical documents throughout and all the actions on. That was really useful for me, because when something went wrong, I knew what to do. And if we talk about the support that I've had from the NHS in particular, from Ellie and her team, and the doctors and consultants around them, and the physiotherapists, and the occupational health doctors and nurses, I've been able to respond to everything that's happened. So during this journey, I've had high blood pressure. I got shingles. That was awful. I've responded badly to some of the chemotherapy drugs, so we had to lower my dose. But I was ready for each of those, and none of them really got me down, because I had the best treatment available to me at the time, or the best treatment I could have possibly got at the time. But the other part that you build through your life is family and friends support. And I found that to be the most important thing that I've developed in my life. I'm very lucky that I've always had a really close family. Me and my parents get on really well. Me and my sister get on really well. And there's two, my little niece and nephew, they're 6 and 3, or 6 and 4 soon, who are just wonderful. And they're always there to support. And I've had aunties and uncles. My cousin went and did a walk for Cancer Research UK in Cardiff about a month or so ago. And they're always in touch, and they're always coming over. My parents basically moved in with me because, you know, life goal achieved, obviously. Um, the but it's really important that even if you don't get on with your family, you honestly won't believe how amazing they are when they're on your side. So one of my pieces of advice is really lean into your family, however you define it. My second one is friends. There is an amazing. I love Winnie the Pooh stuff. I just think they're brilliant and incredibly sweet and lovely. And it's a friend is one of the nicest things you can have, and one of the best things you can be. And lots of people don't get out enough, particularly after the COVID crisis and all that sort of stuff. People are not going into work as much and not necessarily socializing with people in person and, you know, pressing the flesh a bit. But just going out for a coffee with someone in work, or just catching up with an old mate of yours, or going for a walk somewhere with them, or out for dinner with them, or have a cheeky drink or something like that, you know, it keeps those alive. And I can't tell you how amazing it's been through this year to have all of these friends come from all over the world to see me. And at my 40th birthday this year as well, we had something like 32 people that I ended up buying dinner for as a thank you to them all. And they've been amazing, and they've been there for ages. The other piece that I'd say is I've learned a lot about charity work, or the charities that we work with, and they've been so incredibly supportive. So the ones I've worked with are Cancer Research UK, Macmillan, Brain Tumour Charity, the Dimbleby Cancer Centre charity, or Cancer Centre, and they've been amazing. They've pointed me in the direction for things that I never even thought I'd need to think about. So I now have free travel in London because I'm disabled, which is awesome. I get welfare benefits, but they're, and you know, I didn't even know I was entitled to them, but I was, which was great. And I've got a blue badge, and I've got a carer's permit for parking on the street outside my house, which is amazing. And it all means that I've got so little to stress about, except do exactly what the doctors and nurses say. That's all my job is to be lovely to people and to do exactly what the medical professionals say I should do. And
you're not just saying that for the camera. It's
no,
real truth. You're very
genuinely,
well behaved.
I am. I try to be. Sometimes I'm not that well behaved, but that's okay. But yeah. So and the final bit that I'd say is, if you get everything in place, then you're going to be ready for anything. So I've got a sort of coping with disaster thing that I pulled together to talk through my work colleagues on this, because I always think it's really important to be really open about this, because it's not massively common, but it's way more common than you'd think. And people don't talk about it, so it surprises everybody. So let's share the story and let's get everybody knowledgeable about this a bit. But the things which I did was I prepared for the worst. So I'd been in the military for 10 years. I'd already prepared my will. I'd already prepared my powers of attorney. And I just had to update them so that I'm now not military, and that's fine. Rationalize my finances and my assets, because if I go during this, then it was an absolute mess. But I've sorted that out too, which is great, and it's really easy to do. So you know, I get on it before something happens. I planned my funeral when I was in the army, because I was in the army during the Iraq and Afghanistan years, and so I lost quite a few friends in that, and some got incredibly badly injured. And I remember a friend of mine being carried down the aisle of a cathedral to Whitney Houston, and I was like, oh, I am not a Whitney Houston man. I'm sorry, everyone. So I planned my own funeral with the music and the people and all that sort of stuff that I wanted to deal with. And I talked to my family about all of this. because it's really important to, because when you're gone, they can't ask you questions. And it's really important that you make things as easy as you can for people, because you're not there anymore, but you've got loads of stuff that will help others. Look after yourself is the next bit. Keep fit, manage your workload. It's not actually that important, except actually, Ellie, for you and your team, it's really important. Invest in time with your family and friends. Hobbies, don't wait, just get stuck into them. You don't want to be lying on your bed in the hospital and think, God, I wish I'd done. I wish I'd done. Travel and make memories. And all of that stuff builds a sort of safety net around you that's invaluable. And just to give you a feel for how invaluable it was, the night before I went in for my operation, I didn't get much sleep because I'd been in the hospital for 3 days, and I was going in to have my head open and be awake during it, doing loads of exercises, quizzes, physical stuff with the physio and stuff like that. And so I thought I'd take a look through my photos in my phone, and I realised that a month and a half before that day, I'd just got back from a trip to Crete. Just before that, I'd been out to Porto with my friends, and I love Porto. I think it's an amazing town, with great wine in it, which is very important. And then just before that, I'd done 3 ski trips last year, and just because I've loved skiing since I was a kid, and why not? Before that, I'd gone to Dubai for the first time and driven dune buggies around the desert at ludicrous speeds, and gone to stupidly mad restaurants in a mad town. And I just kept going back and back until I saw, all of the things which I'd done in my life in these photos. And I just thought, you know what? I'm 39 years old, and I feel like I've lived an amazing life. And it sort of settled me completely, because I saw all of these friends and all of these activities and all of these memories came back to me, and it settled me down immediately. And since that point, I haven't really had a stressful day. So that's kind of what I wanted to share with people about my journey. It has been tough. It's been funny in some areas. It's been harsh in some areas, but I've got through it with a smile on my face. And I feel stupidly supported, or ridiculously supported is probably a better way of putting it. And I feel healthier than I have in years.
You are a credit to your friends and family. You are wonderful and you're doing amazingly. And I think that people will really, really, benefit from your wise words. So thank you so much for that.
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I'll end it there. Thank you.